Channel, broadcasting from Anubidi. Welcome to another interesting edition of VOP this morning. Today is also the 17th day in the month of June 2025. Interestingly, this month is already running out. The mid-year is already running, as the case may be. And on our table today, we have interesting lineup for our discussion today. And one of it is that President Tinubu is set to visit Benue on Wednesday tomorrow, and this actually come after global and national outrage. You know, he also sent SGF, NSA, Police Chief, and Defense Committee, and other persons, you know, ahead to go and assess the situation in Benue State. I am Fina Okechukwu.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I am Chukwuma Okoro. I remember that yesterday I didn't introduce myself. So if you were here yesterday and you were wondering, what is this man's name? I am Chukwuma Okoro. Away from that, Emefiele arranged over 753 Abuja duplexes, granted 2 billion naira bail.
Well, we'll also be looking at the Conference of Professionals in PDP petitioning EFCC over 39 billion naira ICC renovation contract under Wike'S. Well, all of this, and of course, some other conversations coming up shortly. I'm Moses Humphrey. Now let's look at those other conversations, what Nigerians are talking about. Yesterday, we talked about the possibility of Dangote refinery becoming a monopoly. Oh well, the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, Petroan, have raised concerns that Dangote refinery's planned nationwide distribution of diesel and petrol from August 15 could create a disguised monopoly in the downstream sector. Now, Petroan warns the move may lead to significant job losses and reduced competition, as the refinery's market dominance could allow it to control pricing and squeeze out smaller operators, potentially harming both consumers and the broader economy. Well, it's very obvious what is playing out here. Dangote has the muscle, he has the financial muscle to do all of this. 4,000 CNG powered trucks makes it cheaper to transport, you know, because these trucks are CNG powered. And then 4,000 of them will, of course, take tanker drivers out of business. And then he said he wants to take these products directly to users, telecoms, petrol stations directly, of course. But what do you blame all of this on? A failed government. It's a failed government. A government where the nation's refinery cannot work, has not worked. So why then wouldn't an individual who has the finances come into the sector and grab control of it? Dangote refinery is already fixing prices because when they bring down their price, NNPC will do same. When they take their price up, NNPC will do same. So, like it or not, they are fixing prices. They brought it down to 827 the other time, ex depot price, and then depot price was about I think 850 thereabouts. And later, NNPC brought theirs down as well. When they took it up again, just very recently, NNPC took theirs up. So what are we talking about? Nations' refineries, they've been moribund. In fact, billions were spent on some of the refineries to make them work. Nothing has worked. And we are crying a monopoly. Well, as a businessman, I in as much as I know this will harm the Nigerian, because if you look at the price of cement now, price of cement has gone up. Dangote and BUA basically controlling that sector. They're basically controlling the sector. And if this continues, it will be detrimental to the Nigerian, to the ordinary man. But then what can we do? If fuel is available, we won't have a choice but to purchase.
When I heard this particular statement from Petron National President Billy Gibbs Harry, I was upset. Yes, I was very, very angry because he was calling on the government to please wade into this and make sure that the issue of Dangote becoming another capitalist that would take the price of fuel or PMS or diesel or other petroleum products actually in Nigeria. You know, he pointed out to what's happening in cement and sugar and even flour and other things that Dangote actually invested in, forgetting that the same people he actually was crying to cannot help him out. I'm sorry to say, with all due respect. Now, if he had come up to say that the members of Petram are going to NNPC headquarters to shut it down because of the fact that our refineries are not working, I would be happy. Or maybe he's saying that they're putting up something to make Nigerian government make sure that the 4 or 5 refineries that we have in Nigeria is working to the point that there will be proper competition in that particular sector. That will also gladden my heart. But you're here talking or crying foul over an individual who is doing what your nation cannot do. An individual who have come up to make Nigeria and even the world to understand that our refineries are not working is not because it cannot come upstream again, but because of the fact that selected few have decided to make that particular sector to be their own cash cow. You know, when he said so many things, talked about tanker drivers losing out and not being able to benefit again because there will be loss of job if Dangote is to come up with his 4,000, CNG powered trucks and all that. The same government you're crying to are the ones that made Nigerians understand that the removal of free subsidy actually have so many other ways to cushion it. They promised Nigerians CNG kits, CNG outlets, CNG vehicles and all that. We are yet to see any, and you're crying to death instead of taking decisive action by, finding a way to protest, carry your placards. It's quite unfortunate.
I'm just laughing. Petro are going to shut the NNPC head office. Will it make the refineries
I think that will make their voice be heard. If they are dead,
their voice is being heard. They are shouting.
They're not shouting. They're talking about an individual who is doing this business.
I think they have a right. They have the right to do what they are doing because I think that is the much that they can do. Shutting down NNPC headquarters is not going to open up the refineries. They are calling on the government to step in. Anyway, that's your own angle of it. Moses and I talked about it a bit yesterday during the newspaper review, and we were very clear that, look, this is tending towards monopoly. It's most likely going to end up as a monopoly. But my worry in all of this is that, okay, is it worry or concern? Is that, look, Dangote is a businessman, and we operate a capitalist economy. But even as we operate a capitalist economy, I was trying to review what Dangote is trying to do, and to find whether it could go against antitrust laws. Antitrust laws like tying secondary and primary commodities together, that unless you do this, you will not do this. I couldn't find it. I'm not a lawyer, but I also understand that, look, if you tie products like that, so to the point that end users cannot do without one and the other, it becomes clearly antitrust. But it's left for Petro to examine whether they can go to court to dismantle it if it becomes a violation of our antitrust laws. Now, that said, the important thing to do is that it also enhances competition. Like Petro can also come together as a bloc and see how they can confront this idea. Because what Dangote is trying to do is essentially to create entry barriers, into the business. Now, Boa is coming in. He wants to muzzle him out of business. Because if he's supplying directly to end users with the CNG trucks, 4,000, 4,000 nationwide, from his own depot to direct to the end users. What it means is that one middleman have been...
At no cost, actually.
No, at a very marginal cost.
At no cost for the initial, the
bonanza.
Yeah. At no cost
okay, at no cost for the
end user.
For the end user, yes. So that is his plan. He's trying to muzzle out competition. And when you look at that, it's also competition. Monopoly. So when you examine monopolistic tendencies and how they fit in with... I keep going back to these antitrust laws. I'm not very clear on it because I studied a bit about it in school, but I understand that when you tie secondary and primary products together to the point that it creates entry barriers for other people, then it becomes clearly antitrust. So the lawyers will also have to review all of that and see if it is actionable in court, whether people can go to court to challenge what Dangote is trying to do. But like I said, it's going to engender competition. Probably Boa and other people will also get into this business and see how they can compete. And again, I think what the government can do to stop all of this is to make sure that the refineries, how many of them are working. Because it tells me that now NMPCL is trying to adjust their prices. From where? They are not producing, they are importing. And so if they are importing, what it clearly means is that they are paying subsidy, because we are told that the landing cost is much more than they are selling.
They are paying shortfall.
So there is shortfall, there is subsidy, and we are still battling with 707.4 trillion naira, and nobody is talking about all of that again. So my take on, in summary, the government should look into this so that we don't move from one monopoly to the other, from cement to sugar to pasta, and now to especially one that touches every Nigerian, head or tail, anyhow you move it, 360, because there is nobody that does. If you don't use it as a primary product, you use it as a secondary product. So it's essential that the government steps in to ensure that, look, we are in good hands with somebody or with some people. You know,
the question is, which government are we calling on at this point in time? Can you tell, do you know how much the government gave to Dangote refinery, for this particular refinery that has 650,000 capacity in Nigeria? It was done during Buhari administration. Till today, Nigerians don't even know how much, what transpired.
It was a percentage.
We don't know what the percentage actually is all about.
The government couldn't even meet up with all of that.
How much actually does that percentage amount to and all that?
The thing is a challenge. It's a challenge. If you build your own and you approach government, I'm sure government will also give you some kind of support. Right. Anyway, let's move away from that, because there are other interesting trending stories. As the EFCC chairman, Ola Olukoyede, says that the rising activities of internet fraudsters, commonly known as Yahoo boys, are tarnishing Nigeria's image globally. Well, in a video shared on the Commission's official X handle, he expressed this concern over growing trend among young Nigerians, calling it a national embarrassment and a serious threat to the country's international reputation. Now that's on your screen, that's the EFCC hemsman Olukoyede speaking, talking about how internet fraudsters, have become an embarrassment to the country, to the nation, and all of that.
Let's hear him out.
To address the issue of Yahoo boys that has become a major issue in Nigeria. There are people often accuse EFCC. There are people are stealing mega money, and all of you are not seeing them. You are the only people that you can run after. You are ready. It's Yahoo. I want Nigerians to know that we are having crisis on our hands. It's actually a crisis situation. And brother, today, if you travel abroad with your green passport, stand in the queue among so many people, you will discover that by the time you present your green passport, the people will look at you with some reservation. That's if they don't take you aside to carry out special scrutiny on you.
Okay. That's the EFCC hemsman Olukoyede talking about the embarrassment that the Yahoo boys are causing Nigerians. I don't dispute him. This is a man that I don't envy his job. I don't envy his job because he's confronting what might be termed a behemoth, in the corruption sector, especially when corruption thrives and runs around the government circle. This is just a tip of the iceberg if you talk about Yahoo boys, internet fraudsters. Because the corruption that also tarnishes Nigeria's image is also within the government circles. When we hear that, look, that Nigeria as a country is fantastically corrupt, they essentially were not talking about internet fraudsters. They were not talking about Yahoo boys. They were talking about wholesome, humongous corruption going on within the government circles. With the oil subsidy, with the exchange scam, round-tripping, over-invoicing, and all of that. So when this man talks about this, you discover that he is dealing with a lot. Because you cannot, corruption will naturally fight back. Are you going to try people, that appointed you, people that approve monies for you to do your job? And if he's talking about embarrassment caused us by Yahoo boys, what about embarrassment caused us by drug traffickers? What about embarrassment caused us by certificate scammers? What about embarrassment caused us by people whose identity, and all of that are questionable, from one certificate to the other, from one submission of one document to the other. We don't even know which is which, and it's all at the international scene playing out. All of this put together, I'm not trying to exonerate Yahoo boys. Yes, they cause us a lot of embarrassment outside, but also let him understand that, look, like he even said himself, that people are accusing him that he's just chasing small boys, that he's not chasing the big thieves. Yes, Nigerians are right. if they think in that direction, because essentially you are not doing that. So it's a wholesome thing you have to put together. There are many tracks, and you have to follow all of those layers of corruption.
Of course,
Nigeria.
You've nailed some very essential. You've made some very essential points there. You know, it's not just about the Yahoo boys that are embarrassing the nation. Our leaders, the politicians, they are the ones. They are the ones who suck the nation dry. They are the ones who sign off contracts. They are the ones who break contracts with foreign bodies and all of this. And these things actually are the things that affect our image abroad. Yahoo, internet scam, what we do, what our young men here do, they do romance scam, a few internet, and then, some of these things, as bad as it is, I don't think it's enough to cause. Now, the problem we have, because if you want to compare Yahoo boys in Nigeria with scammers in China, they cannot be compared. What Chinese people do, they scam nations. It's humongous what they do. In the USA, there are scammers as well. They have identity fraud. And most of it, a reasonable percentage of it, over 70% of it, do not even involve Nigerians. I'm talking about the USA now. They don't involve Nigerians. They involve some Americans, some Canadians, we'll take the Canadians out of it. Some Americans, some Asians, they're all involved in all of this. But the problem we have, here is that we glorify these scammers because a lot of them are known to us. The generality of Nigerians. We know these people. These people are glorified at all levels. They are glorified in schools. We see them driving cars. We hail them. We salute them. We do toile for them and all of that. And then they get into politics. They're also glorified. So the fact that we put them on a pedestal, we glorify them, is what is causing embarrassment. That's why it looks like, there's a lot of internet fraud going on in Nigeria. I don't think it's as much as compared to some other countries, but because we exalt them above hardworking individuals, so the world gets to know that yes, all these things exist in Nigeria. If our moral value is moved up a notch and we start to speak to those that are putting in the work, the hard work, and we start to push behind those that have acquired money doing scrupulous things, then our image will come up a little bit. That's what I believe.
Interesting to know that the only thing that hurts the likes of the Czar of Anti-Graft Agency is the fact that if he's to travel out of the country with his passports, they will take him aside for scrutiny and all that and look at him, maybe he's a first time. It shows that maybe he does not really have a problem, if I'm to use that word. Yes, I am not going to hold brave for Yahoo boys. They are doing the undoable, especially the people who are doing the Yahoo plus. Those have decided to use another human being for this. We'll see young girls run mad every day. We'll see young boys too run mad. We'll see some of them go down to their villages to indulge in one thing or the other for the business movement and all that. But now the thing is this. I was expecting this particular man, Mr. Olukoyede, to make us understand that what is causing Nigeria embarrassment and also ruin our reputation in the international space is the fact that some elected politicians, some elected officers cannot account for the monies being sent to them, especially governors. And we've seen how governors actually mismanage the funds that are being given to them for the betterment of their people. We've seen how people are looting Nigeria to dry, if I'm to use that word. We've seen, and most of them now are seeking refuge, they're seeking asylum somewhere else, chilling, doing their thing, enjoying the monies. We've seen How so many persons who've appointed, who've elected, who've given the mandate to go over a particular section, handle this for us, man it for us, how they are causing shame and embarrassment to Nigeria. Not because they cannot take care of them, but because of the fact that they've decided to fail in that access. He said that young men are not ready to work hard anymore. And the question is this. Take it back to when a young man is still a child, a lad, and they don't even have social amenities to start with. A boy, an average Nigerian today, is being given birth to hardship. Let me use that word. You're being born into suffering, and then you're smiling as you're doing it. Schools are supposed to be made available for Nigeria and the working society. Some persons, some communities can't even talk or even raise a hand to say they have schools that are working enough. Someone told us in the studio that, if you get to a particular school here in Lagos, you have children doing their things, sitting on the floor. Some of them are in a place where that is not even conducive for people or animals to be reared and all that. But then these are places that we expose children to. And then we see the elected officials chilling, enjoying themselves, as the case may be. Somebody told Nigerians that if you want to go abroad to get money, to work 9 to 5 job, it's okay. But it can be in Nigeria and suddenly wake up and it becomes something. It might be a politician, just from sleeping out. And they are seeing all this things playing out. You expect an average Nigerian boy who also supposed to benefit, who's supposed to have security, who's supposed to have social amenities provided. They are not seeing it out. But the son of a local government elected officer, or the son of a House of Rep member, or the son of House of Assembly member, or even the governor, actually the son or their children are enjoying, driving the latest car that they can't even, tell us how they managed to get to. And what do you expect them to do? They see all these things in display. They want to measure up. They want to live up to, the standard, even when they know that that is not really the way to go. Are you going to tell us, the czar of EFCC, that you expect? I have a cab driver then in Benue State, and this particular guy graduated from Unilag then, and he said, man, I cannot do something bad, so I had to move back to my parents' house, and then he started running the cab, like normal taxi, airport taxi, and all that. This is someone who graduated with 2-1. There is no job opportunity. And then you want somebody actually to understand that you have to go to school. There's some of us that still keeping it together does not mean we don't know how to do all these things, or we are not going to do all of them. But because we still have a little atom of sanity, still working with us. Some persons have lost it, if I'm to use that word. So I expect you at this point in time to go after, I'm happy you made mention of that, you know that some persons actually are embezzling the money in big chunk. I expect you to go after those people, pick them, and if need be, if possibly, nab them first, retrieve or recover the money they must have stolen, then we'll now start talking about people and things that are causing Nigerians embarrassment. Away from that, please, the United Nations has warned that extreme hunger is worsening in 13 global crisis zones, with Gaza, Sudan, South Sudan, Haiti, and Mali facing imminent risks of famine without urgent aid. In its latest report, the UN highlights conflict, economic shocks, and climate disasters as key drivers of food insecurity. Northern Nigeria was also flagged, with rising violence and deepening economic hardship expected to increase civilian suffering and displacement in the region. All I can say about this is this: if we allow things to be the way they are, it will get to a point where we don't even need UN to tell us what is happening in Nigeria now. We'll see persons going into persons' place or people's houses to steal food to eat. We know that Nigerians are suffering. Times are hard here in this country. Insecurity is not doing us well. A whole lot of things are not working the way it should be. We don't have food to start with. People are living in IDP camps. And yesterday, we're talking about how the Agric Ministry have decided to organize prayer and fasting session, for some days. Although they call that off for foods, for crops that we planted actually to start yielding. And, I laughed over that, but from this projection from UN, we're told that in this June 2025, over 130-something million Nigerians will slide more into abject poverty. I pray it won't actually get out of hand. That's all I can say, on that.
Anyway, it's not strange that this is coming from United Nations. Even our own National Survey Agency, NBS, made that much prediction about June this year, that like 133 million Nigerians will descend to abject poverty, hunger in the land, and it's already happening. Not with the flood that took place, or that is, the rains are here, the insecurity is still thriving. Farmers are not going to farm. But my concern is that, look, when the UN wrote out that report, and they said that they flagged northern Nigeria, that it's is not totally correct. It's the entire country. There is hunger in the land. Everywhere. There is hunger in the land. Everywhere. You know, like Fina said, like some of us are still managing to hold out. Doesn't mean that it hasn't reached us. We are just trying to, a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians are just trying to, you know, absorb the pressure. You know, it is also very concerning that in all of this, we are now lumped together with countries like Gaza, Sudan, South Sudan, Haiti. These are countries in a state of war, countries that actually have collapsed, you know, collapsed nations. Like failed states. So what does it tell you? It tells you that, look, Nigeria, the red flags are there everywhere. It's concerning, and authorities concerned should look into it before we start dealing with. We already have in our hands a big problem, but let's deal with it now before the thing unravels and Nigeria becomes another thing altogether.
Oh yes, let's deal with it before things get completely out of hand. Well, let's move away from those conversations. Let's check out some of the conversations that Nigerians. I beg your pardon. Let's look at the papers now, because we do have the papers with us. Let's just quickly give you headlines from the dailies. I have the Daily Independent, and these are the headlines from Daily Independent. The banner headline here reads, well, Benue massacre. We must act decisively now to secure lives. Atiku, PDP LP, ask FG states to stop offering condolences, offer solutions. People may be forced to defend themselves. David Mark. Tinubu to visit Benue, hold meetings with stakeholders. Window headlines, SWF crucial to close infrastructure gaps, create jobs. Tinubu. Angry APC members accuse Wike'S loyalists of hijacking party. Interesting. Inflation records sharpest annual decline in a year, drops 22.97%. All right. June 12 honors. Pengerson kicks over non-inclusion of leaders who led strike. Benue killings, military to change strategy. CDS, why tell us? Emefiele, now, operating cost, limited disposable income, hurt insurance industry. And then the bottom strip there. Emefiele arraigned over 753 Abuja houses, gets 2 billion naira bail. Well, those are the headlines on the cover page of Daily Independent.
The Guardian is up next, and the headlines are: Sokoto to negotiate with repentant bandits to end insecurity. Interesting. Tanker drivers suspend loading over Lekiepe e-call up fee. The Guardian CT production unveils the Nigerian Summit 2025. The banner headline: CDS links military saboteurs to Benue massacre ahead of Tinubu's visit. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. NMDPRA CEO traveled on official engagement, not under investigation. Petrol. Pengerson accuses government marketers of exploiting consumers. Damagun denies defection plans as Tinubu's ex-aide vows to plot his 2027 defeat. And then we have the bottom strip headline to be: declining food prices, stable forex reduce inflation to 22.97% in May. Those are the headlines on the cover page of the Guardian newspaper. Okay,
let's quickly run through the first news with the news behind the masthead is Yahoo boys are a national disgrace to Nigeria, EFCC chairman. And the window headlines: Appeal Court cancels Emefiele's asset forfeiture, orders retrial. That's the first newspaper. Okay. Tragedy in Oka, 10-year-old accidentally kills police father with service rifle. FG launches portal for youth confab as 36,000 delegates expected. Tinubu's silence fuels killings. Nigeria bleeds unchecked. That's coming from the PDP. Now the big story. Under fire over Benue killings. Tinubu cancels Kaduna trip, heads to Makurudi Wednesday. Benue attacks, over 6,500 displaced. NEMA warns of worsening humanitarian crisis. Nigeria's inflation rate down to 22.97% in May. That's coming from the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics. And court rejects federal government's request to arrest Senator Natasha. And that's all from the first newspaper.
And that's how far we can go on taking a quick peep on the cover page of the national dailies. Do well to join Moses and Chukuma for the newspaper review proper on top of the hour, 10 a.m. here on Voice of the People TV. We'll go on a quick break, and when we'll come back, we'll dissect the first topic of conversation. President Tinubu to visit Benue on Wednesday after a global and national outrage sends SGF, NSA, Police Chief, and Defense Committee to head over and assess the situation in Benue State. We'll look into this after this quick break. Do well to stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's still VOP this morning. President Tinubu is set to visit Benue State on Wednesday to personally sympathize with the victims of last week's deadly attack in Yeliwata, where several people lost their lives. And the president says he is adjusting a schedule to be there. While in the state, he plans to meet with key community leaders and groups to find ways to end the repeated violence. Ahead of the visit, Tinubu sent a team of top officials, including the SGF, NSA, the police chief, and defense committee heads, to assess the situation and prepare for his engagement with stakeholders. The president's visit comes after strong public backlash. Many Nigerians, including Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, criticized his silence after the killings. Benue has suffered ongoing attacks for months, with more than 160 people reportedly killed in recent weeks. In Enugu, at least 4 people have been confirmed dead following a fresh attack by suspected herdsmen on Ikmabara village in the Ehamufu area of Isuzo local government area. The assault, which occurred Sunday evening, has left 7 others missing as search efforts continue. The latest violence adds to a troubling pattern of deadly attacks in the region, where dozens have been killed and women subjected to widespread sexual violence. Local leaders, overwhelmed by the recurring bloodshed, are calling out to the government and its continued failure to protect rural communities or respond effectively to the crisis. We have a video where the president actually was addressing Nigeria. We'll have to also add that for you to hear him say that himself. He's going to create time to go visit the people of Benue State?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to credit Eugenia Abu with the fact that we have a minute silence for the people, the victim of Benue. Why I sympathize with the Benue people, I've spoken to the governor. The leadership and people of Benue should accept our condolences and tried hard, very, very consciously, to maintain peace, harmony among themselves. I've always said this, that we are one single huge family living in the same house, stay in different rooms, but living together in harmony will be the result of our diversity for prosperity. We should be able to manage our anger and frustrations. I sympathize those who have lost their life. I will adjust my program and go see Benue people on Wednesday. But today is a great day of pride.
Was the president promising to go visit the people of Benue State tomorrow being Wednesday and also the 18th day in the month of June 2025. We have with us in the studio to help dissect today's topic. We have Prince Francis Chilaka. He's a political and public affairs analyst, and will be joined virtually by Dr. Shegu Shobito, who is Chairman Accountability Council and Transparency Network. Also, from Oka Studios, we have Honorable Geoffrey Guatu, who is the former member and Anambra State House of Assembly, join us also. These gentlemen will help to x-ray today's topic. Good morning, Prince Francis Chilaka.
Good morning.
Good to have you join today then. All right, good morning, Honorable Geoffrey Guatu.
Good morning.
All right, good morning, Dr. Shegu Shobito.
Good morning, Fina.
Interesting. Good to have you. All right. Now, let me start with you, Prince Francis Chilaka, since you're the one in the studio with us this morning. The president had promised to go visit the people of Benue State tomorrow, to help look into whatever thing that's happening there. But in his speech, he said something about how Nigerians should find a way to accommodate one another, that reconciliation is the way forward. And the same statement was what his predecessor made when there was an Agatu massacre. He's saying that people should learn how to accommodate, how people should live together, as one, because we are one entity and all that. But from what we heard from Benue State, we learned that the people causing this mayhem are not even Nigerians, they are foreigners. How then are we going to, accommodate foreigners to come kill us and move away without anyone being apprehended or arrested?
With due respect to your president, that speech lacks emotional intelligence. That speech does not address the issues on ground. That speech is a speech laden with pretenses. The president cannot come out and tell us to live in harmony, peace and harmony with Marundas, with people who believe in slaughtering and massacring our people. The president is indirectly trying to say that what has played out in Benue State is a communal clash, which it is not. This is clear indication that the security agencies and those who manage the president are not telling the president the truth. Or it is either they have told the president the truth and the president has decided on his own not to accept that reality. The reality of what has happened in Benue State is that some headsmen, in quotes, decided that it is time to kill and maim some Nigerians. This has been ongoing for a long time. So I think that Mr. President should be sincere with himself and address issues as a president, as someone who has vowed and sworn with the Constitution to defend lives and properties of the Nigerian people. Going to Benue State as it is, this is how many days since this event happened, and Mr. President is telling Nigerians he has to adjust his schedule before going. If it was an issue of going to welcome the campees or going for an endorsement, Mr. President would not need to adjust his itinerary. He would have gone to do that. We saw what played out during the June 12th anniversary. When the president was supposed to address Nigerians, he decided to address the National Assembly. The National Assembly is not Nigerians. So, Mr. President, sir, the people of Benue State, they are not asking you for a favor. The people of Benue State, they are not asking you for love. The people of Benue State, just like everybody in Nigeria, what we're asking you is to uphold the 1999 Constitution you swore to defend lives and properties of Nigerians. That is what we're asking you. It is a duty you have taken upon yourself. Please, do not take us for granted.
Isn't that actually the reason the president is making us all understand that we are one family, though living in different rooms?
You cannot be one family with a killer. Anybody that carries arms cannot be a family member. How can you tell us that the headsmen are family members? It's just like the news where they said today that the Sokoto state government want to negotiate with headsmen and bandits. How are you going to negotiate with non-state actors? How would you sit back as a president and you make non-state actors to become relevant in the system?
Now, if you think that that is not going to be workable, or if you think that's not attainable, Prince Francis, just yesterday also in Katsina State, there was a peace accord that was being signed by the bandits, the elements and the state government. We saw security personnel is also present in that.
It is an aberration. So, it is an insult on the Nigerian people. It simply shows that this government is clueless. How can you sit down and begin to negotiate with people who go about killing other people?
So you think that's not a way to reconcile?
It is not a way. It is not a way at all. Because at the end of the day, they have conditions. And what are these conditions? What happens if the government does not meet the conditions tomorrow? One of the people who attended the meetings of the bandits is somebody that has been declared wanted. Why was the person not arrested? Why are we treating this whole madness with kid's glove? Why is the government pretending to the Nigerian people to secure their lives? On the other hand, they are putting them out for kill. How do you sit back as a government? You say you are rehabilitating, you are integrated people who have gone about killing people. Any Nigerian that does not feel the fact that almost 300 people have been slaughtered, burned to ashes in Benue State, and you're happy about it, and as a president, you're telling us you will make up time to go and visit them.
Prince Francis,
please. This government should stop playing with the sensibility of Nigerians.
Resolution or dispute resolution, we have kinetic and non-kinetic approach also to this. And then, from what we've also seen, Nigeria as a nation have also decided to look or to take over the non-kinetic and also merge it with kinetic process to make sure that issue of insecurity is being curtailed already.
I don't understand where you're coming from, and I don't understand that position of yours. If somebody walks into your house with a gun and holds your family at gunpoint, will you sit down when you have an opportunity to take that person out? Will you begin to negotiate with that person? The man who comes to your house with a gun or a knife has come with one decision, and that decision is either get what I want or I take you out.
All right then. Thank you very much, Prince Francis Chilaka. Let's take this conversation to our virtual guest. Segun Shokwiton joins us. He's Chairman, Accountability, Condor and Transparency Network. Good morning once again. Well, good to have you.
Hi, Moses. Good morning.
Now let's X-ray the president's statement, juxtaposing it with words of David Mark, who also hails from Benue. David Mark said, look, it might get to a point where the people will be forced to defend themselves. I want you to hold that one on one hand. And then the president said, look, the leadership and the people of Benue should try hard to maintain peace and harmony. Doesn't that give the impression that it is the leadership and the people who are being killed in Benue are the ones not maintaining peace and harmony? Help me run through this. Help me understand this statement. And you might also react to the reason the president's visit is coming now after for an incident that happened on Friday, and then it took Pope Leo XIV to react, because that's what some Nigerians are saying, that the president decides to go to Benue after Pope Leo XIV reacted. And that's even when he now put out a speech in that regard. Help us unbundle this.
It's heartbreaking. I honestly don't know how to express this, because I think it's a bit emotional for me. Maybe because I had access to some material that documented the events in Benue that has happened in the last week, right? And that document graphic images from people that were on ground, on site, live witness reports with pictures of the kind of carnage that transpired in that place. Moses, it's heart-wrenching to look. You can't see those pictures and not shiver and quake in your soul at the sheer wickedness of the people that perpetrated these acts, right? And you know, are we still living in a country? Do we have a country? The duty of government, you know, to citizens, one of the fundamental duties, you know, responsibilities, sacred responsibilities, is the protection and security of life and property, to maintain that right to life as guaranteed in the Constitution. That sacred duty is completely lost on this government. I don't know exactly what the president is saying. My good brother and friend, Prince Chilaka, said maybe he doesn't know, maybe they're lying to him. And I say to that, any president that does not know what is happening in his country is not fit for office. You should make it a point of duty, a point of, you know, of responsibility to find out first hand by yourself. For goodness sake, does the president not have a phone? Are they typing for him? Can't he pick up his phone and go on YouTube and watch programs like this just to ensure that he's in tune with reality? Can he not pick up newspapers and read by himself?
The president's comments, did he give you the impression that the president cares? Did you get that?
No, I mean, look, it's very obvious, Moses. I'm sorry to just butt in. It's very obvious that our dear president is absolutely and completely detached from reality and is completely insensitive to the human side of governance. You know, I mean, because I know that if he wants, he has access to security briefings. If I, as an ordinary citizen, could have seen pictures from that place, definitely the president has a very clear picture with images, graphic images of the kind of carnage that happened. Why is the president talking about clearing his schedule? That is the most insensitive and terrible thing to say. That hundreds of lives, and it's not just happened now, and it's just not happened now. It's been going on for weeks, in fact, for months. And then the president says he will clear his schedule. That is an insult to Nigerians. That you will clear your schedule so that you can go and see dead people.
That statement got to me, because I was wondering, what is important in Kaduna?
What else are you doing as a president? What else are you doing?
As against going to Benue. But let's before I bring Honorable Igwatu into the conversation, help us run through what the president is likely to do in Benue, because he did say his itinerary says that he will meet with stakeholders, which would include traditional rulers and the people, the youth, and all of that. What do you think what do you think he hopes to achieve with meeting with traditional rulers and all of that in Benue? In line with the fact that these killings have been said to be perpetrated by those from outside, not those within, who invade the community, kill, maim, burn, and then go. Would they be part of the meeting? Are they part of the stakeholders?
Yes, I think that first of all, it's important that he goes, and it should have been something that he had done when the first incident was reported 6 weeks ago, where 50 people were killed. Maybe if he had gone, maybe these 200 people would not have died. Because he's going will give him first hand, he will touch it and feel it. There's a difference between seeing something in a picture and being there and seeing blood on the wall and seeing blood on the ground and then taking him to the grave where those people must have been mass buried. It's important that he goes. It's critical so that he can get an assessment on ground. Okay. However, whether he's meeting with stakeholders, and also I think it's important that as a president, he shows the empathy by visiting the families of the bereaved. That will not replace the people that have died, but at least it will show them that their country cares. Now, but the point you make is a very valid point. It's not him that needs to go. Right now, there should be a state of emergency in Benue State. A state of emergency must be declared as soon as possible. Why? Okay. So that it can unleash the full might of the military in that place. I'm not talking about them replacing the governor. That's not provided for in the constitution. Okay. I'm saying, look, suspend the basic rights of people in that place, which is what a state of emergency does, so that the military can go in and take whatever measures they need to take to smoke out those guys.
All right. So thank you very much, that's more important than the visit. Thank you very much, Mr. Shegu. Now, let's take this conversation to Oka, where we have Honorable Ejiofor Egwuatu standing by. Good morning to you, Honorable Ejiofor Egwuatu, and thanks for joining us on VOP this morning. Hello, Honorable Ejiofor, can you hear me?
Thanks for having me here.
Oh, okay, very well then. Good morning once again, and thanks for joining us. Now, you have followed the conversation. I'm sure you saw the footage where the president addressed the Benue issue. And first of all, the president come across to you as solemn. His body language, did it betray somebody that has a tinge of, feeling, or a tinge of remorse for what is going on in Benue State? I ask that in the light of the fact that we have a president that comes to tell us that, look, okay, I'm going to clear my desk, I'm going to reschedule all of that I'm doing, my task schedule, to make out time to visit the people of Benue State. And if you talk about visiting the people of Benue State, we already have the Inspector General of Police who's been there and spoken with the people. We also have the Chief of Army Staff who relocated about 10 days ago to Benue State, and we see all of these things happen. If you put all together, the president's statement, the Inspector General of Police visit, and the presence of the Chief of Army Staff, do you think that we are going to see an end to this problem? Does it look peripheral if at the end of the day you don't address the underlying factors, the roots of this problem? And what could the roots be? We've been told that foreigners are killing Nigerians and we are going there to visit them. Does it look like public posturing, or does it look like, just for the optics, let it be that we've been there? What's your reaction to everything that is going on there, in the light of all that I've put together?
Thank you very much. First of all, I do not think the president's disposition in that speech reflects the true essence of this crisis, or the depths of destruction that is going on there from what we are seeing. But on another point, I believe the president should be much more well informed than all of us. The president should have a very well detailed security information on what is truly happening in Benue State, and his disposition as to people living in one house under one family in different rooms does not reflect what we are seeing happening in Benue State. First of all, before we all stay in one house, we must have an agreement that we are one family. And before you have a room in my house or in our house, there must be an agreement on how we are supposed to live with each other. And I do not think that is a reflection of what is happening in Benue State. There is a massive killing of people. There is a massive destruction, and this thing has been going on for years. I do not in any way think that it's about one family not living together well.
Okay.
No, I do not think so. I do not understand the president's disposition. Maybe he has some information that we do not have, but they should let us know so that we can flow with that information too.
Okay, now quickly, but I also talked about the presence of the Inspector General of Police and that of the Chief of Army Staff. Will their presence make a difference if we don't get to the root of this matter? And what is the root of this matter? Some people have classified it as a farmer header clash. Some people have also said, no, it is not. It is ethnic cleansing, a group of people, trying to chase away others from their ancestral land. And we've been told that these people are not even Nigerians. So, does it look like going there is just for the optics? Do you think that we can actually solve this problem without getting to the root cause of this matter? Is there a possibility we could paper over it and have a lasting peace in that area?
Well, I do not think the IG going there will make a difference, because the IG going there, if the people on ground have not been doing anything, what I'm looking at is the result. Okay. It's not about the show that they are putting up. It's about the result. Okay, what has been happening since? Okay. Why do we allow this to get to this very, very, very disappointing point before we now start relocating both IG, Chief of Army Staff, and all the rest of them? Why didn't this thing, why wasn't it nipped in the bud? All right. Why did the security situation
I'm happy that you talk about nipping it in the bud, which is more like I said, getting to the root of the matter. Oh, well, let us see what happens in the coming days. You are in Anambra State. What is going on? We understand that there are killings in part of Anambra State. Enugu Ukwu, to be precise. Do you have an idea? Can you walk us through what is going on there, with Enugu Ukwu in particular?
Well, I'm not aware of that. I might do some research on it. But Anambra has been very peaceful, very, very peaceful in recent times, even though you cannot say that there is no crime completely. But Anambra has been very peaceful.
Oh, okay, so you are not aware of the Enugu Ukwu killing. Are you aware of what is going on in Ehamu part of Enugu State, your neighboring state?
I hear there are disruptions there. That's Enugu State. It has a link with Anambra. Ehamu has a link with Ayamelum local government. They are linked together. They are very close.
All right, then. All right.
There's always been stories around there, and I don't think it affects the Anambra part.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ejiofor Egwuatu. Thanks for that update. Well, let's bring Prince Francis back into this conversation now. Prince, now the president. Already, the Chief of Army Staff, relocated to Benue before the recent killings. And right now that the president intends to visit, the Chief of Defense Staff has gone down there. An elite force, the president did ask that an elite force be sent down there as well. All of this is prior to his visit. And if you listened to the testimonies of those that were interviewed, those that were affected, in Benue, a lot of them said, look, that the military tried, but they seem to have been overwhelmed. The attackers came from a particular part, I think Guma or something, or somewhere, I don't know exactly where now, and they were trying to repel them at that point, and then they attacked again from another point. So the military seemed overwhelmed. Do you think a state of emergency would have made a difference, seeing that if the Chief of Army Staff had relocated, and then, of course, if the Chief of Army Staff is relocating to quell insecurity, to quell insurgency, and all of that, he would have relocated with a reasonable amount of officers, soldiers. Would we still need a declaration of a state of emergency?
This whole thing is painful, it is sad, and unfortunately, just like the former administration, each time we have issues, we saw it in Borno State during Buhari's regime, when the Chief of Army Staff also relocated to Borno State. So the issue of relocating or not relocating doesn't solve this problem. As it stands now, the Chief of Army Staff has been there for 10 days. He was in the state when this happened. It shows you that the people who are perpetrating this evil have no regards for the Chief of Army Staff. It also shows you that the Chief of Army Staff, who is there, probably was not, his intelligence gathering was flawed.
No, Prince Francis, there is this thing that was pushed out today by the Guardian newspaper where the Chief of Defense Staff, that's Christopher Musa himself, General, have come up to accuse the military of tipping off, the people that attacked Yellowater community in Benue State. He said that military now are the ones who are giving intel to these people before they come up to launch this attack and all that. Help us walk around this. On one hand, we get the governor, blaming foreigners and all that. We get the governors also accusing politicians of this, and now CDS himself is accusing the military personnel of giving intel to these attacks.
I'm one of those that don't want to take anything said by Hyacinth earlier. I don't believe him any longer. I don't trust him.
Why so?
I don't trust anything he says.
You think he doesn't want the best for?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't even understand what governance is all about. I've always said it. Vincent Alia is just Hyacinth Alia. I don't understand. You can't be a governor. First of all, I remember a few days back. It's going to a week or so. He said he was going to release names of people who he believes are responsible. We haven't seen that. Even when this thing happened, the governor took time to respond.
Doesn't that give you the impression that it's more political?
No. See, when the Chief of Army Staff has come out to say something, and he's now pointing fingers in the direction of his own constituency, I've always said it, and I'll keep saying it. When you rehabilitate and reintegrate those who before now have committed such offenses, in other words, you're saying there is no punishment for any crime committed.
Good you pointed to that direction.
Secondly, with that, with all these miracles, wisdom, whatever they want to look at going on in Benue State, it's not going to end with Benue State. Because, as we talk, every day we wake up from sleep in this country, somebody must be killed. And it is always either by headsmen, by terrorists, by bandits. To be honest with you, the leaders in the north, we must tell them the truth. They are the problem of this country. Maybe people are shying away from saying it, but they are the problem. They hold their people down in bondage. They refuse their youths from getting educated. Meanwhile, they send their children abroad to be educated. And
so all the foreigners are the ones doing this killing.
Where are these foreigners coming from?
They're not Nigerians.
If they are foreigners, somebody must be leading them to the path where they follow.
Now, that brings me to this next question by what the CDS said, that we should give them 6 months. He said, according to this particular, he said, let's remove contractory and politics. In 6 months, we can put an end to this madness. We need not to politicize.
In 6 months, is it going to put an end to what is playing out in Benue, or is it going to put an end to what is happening in the entire country? Because this killings is not restricted only to Benue. We've had it in Plateau. We have it in Sokoto. We have it in Zamfara. Even though it is underreported right now.
Right.
So, if you're saying we should give you 6 months, are you saying that in 6 months' time, banditry, terrorism, headers, clash will end?
Well, I do believe you were speaking to the Benue issue itself.
No. We cannot take Benue issue singularly.
Okay.
Because this has become a national tragedy.
All right, we're running out of time for this conversation, but one quick question to Segun. Are you still with us? Just to ensure.
Yes, I'm with you.
Great. Now, with the movement of the military bigwigs and the president, do you think this will do anything to the morale of soldiers, seeing that a lot of them are poorly paid? A lot of them have complained about being poorly paid. If you remember, not too long ago, one complained about 50,000 naira being what he was paid after being at the theater of war for over a month. Do you think this will affect the morale of soldiers, those that are to do the fighting itself? We seem to have a network glitch, and we are unable to hear.
Why? Why does this problem appear to be intractable? Why does it appear that this can't be solved? I mean, this goes all the way back. Let's not forget to Olusegun Obasanjo's administration over 20 years ago. You know, these things have been happening. It's just that they escalated under the administration of Muhammad Buhari. And it's been like this in waves, ebbs and flows. Sometimes it gets worse, sometimes it gets better. Why? Why does it seem difficult to get to the heart of this matter and just resolve it? There's something we don't know. Whatever is going on in that place, it goes beyond what, you know, ordinary Nigerians are seeing. And I don't think that it's all about the morale of soldiers. I think that there is clear sabotage, not just from military officers, rank and file, but right from the top, especially in those places. What's going on? You know, how can these guys move in and move out, you know, so almost as if their spirits, they appear and disappear? Why is the military incapacitated? What's going on? Why has it extended for this long?
So you think that the 6 months will not be enough for this to end in Nigeria, as the case may be?
No, I mean, it's been, FINA, it's been on for over, at least, let's start from Buhari's time, for about 10 years.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to be sure if that month is going to be enough. Thank you so much, okay, for that. We'll press for time. And thank you, gentlemen, for being part of today's this first conversation. We'll also indulge you to please stay with us for the second one, where we'll look at Emefiele being arraigned over the 753 Abuja duplexes, and also he has been granted 2 billion naira bail. We'll talk about this after this quick break. Stay with us.
Special occasion, or are you looking for a place to store your boat? Welcome to Wike'S Boat Club and Gardens. Our gardens provides a serene ambience for those special occasions like weddings, birthdays, family picnics, or any outdoor event. And if you're a boat lover and you've been worried about where to store your precious boat, worry no more. We introduce Wike'S Boat Club and Gardens. At Wike'S Boat Club and Gardens, we are more than just a boatyard. We are a premier destination for boat lovers. We provide a secure environment for you to store your priceless boats, and we ensure they are in top shape for whenever you need them. Our members have freedom to commercialize their boats for exclusive cruises and luxury trips to stunning beach houses. And when it's time to set sail, our on-site fuel station ensures you are always ready to cruise in style. Wike'S Boat Club and Garden is located at Wale Olateju Crescent off Admiralty Way, Lekki Phase 1. Follow us on Instagram at Wike'sGarden_BBC. Wike'S Garden, where leisure meets lifestyle.
All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele over the alleged illegal acquisition of 753-unit housing estate in Abuja. Well, he appeared before a Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja on Monday, facing an 8-count charge alongside a co-conspirator, Eric Ocheme, who is currently on the run. Well, the EFCC accused Emefiele of using proxies to obtain property in breach of public trust and revealed that the estate had earlier been recovered and forfeited by the order of a court. Well, Emefiele pleaded not guilty to all charges and was granted 2 billion naira bail with 2 sureties required to own property of equal value within Aso Drive, Maitama or Wuse 2. The court ordered him to submit his travel documents and meet all bail conditions by Wednesday next week or face remand. This case adds to 3 other criminal charges already filed against the former Apex Bank chief. We still have in the studio here with us Prince Francis Chilaka, who is a political affairs analyst. Thanks for staying with us. Okay, we are joined virtually from Abuja by Barrister Stanley Alieke, who is a legal practitioner. And we also have Honorable Jofo Egwatu, a former member of Anambra State House of Assembly, who was part of the first conversation. Gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. And Barrister Alieke, thanks for joining us. Let me start with you, Barrister. Okay, we also have Mr. Shegu Shokuto, who was part of the first conversation. Shegu, thanks for staying with us. Now, let me start with you, Barrister Alieke, because you are in Abuja, and this thing is happening in Abuja. I'm sure you have seen the 753 housing unit, and so you have a better idea of what we are talking about. Now, you see that this house has been forfeited, but before, a court had ordered its forfeiture, but we hear that another court has said, no, you don't do that. You have to start the retrial of that case. What happened? Was it an issue of technicality, or is it a case of corruption fighting back? Does it look like interested or vested interests in that matter from above have stepped into the matter? Can you help us understand all that you know about this case going on in Abuja?
Oh, basically, the appeal court that nullified the ruling of the High Court was actually in Lagos, not in Abuja.
Okay.
So, yes, I think.
But the matter now is before a federal High Court, right? The retrial that was ordered.
Yes. So it has always been a back and forth. Although some people target a political witch hunt against the former CBN governor, while some people are saying that, okay, look, but be it as it may, I think the point that the court has been made is his right of fair hearing was not properly adhered to. So, and we lawyers, when the law is not on your side, you can always raise technicalities. I said, okay, that is what happened. But as I politics, even me, this is, it's unethical for me even to come in and say, okay, look, for someone like Emefiele to acquire, amass such kind of wealth, and people are playing politics over it, people are defending it, and because of your own side of political divide. But when a matter is currently in court, we said commenting on it is subjudiced.
Okay.
So, of course, we wait to hear what my lord will say.
Okay, exactly the point. I'm not asking you to comment on the matter in the court, but we are looking at the politics around it. I'm not asking you to say whether the service was done very well, or whether the High Court judge was aired, or he was in order to have granted a retrial. My question is, in all of this, does it seem to you like some vested interests have stepped into the matter? Or the retrial, was it as a result of technicality? Did the judge see any technical issue around it in the first matter that he said, look, no, it's not yet time to feature? I'm talking about the appeal court. What does it look like to you?
Well, you saying that we should take the law aside, then let me speak as a common Nigerian now, not as a lawyer. So picking from the political angle or whatever it is, I believe that I don't want to be too forward and said, okay, the judiciary have been compromised or vested interest. But politics has only been in play. One of the persons, the process, or the main person that the houses were acquired through has been at large since the starting of this case. And people have been saying, look, they are just using Emefiele as the scapegoat. And there are a lot of persons that are saying, okay, there are a lot of other political bigwigs that are involved. And they say, okay, look, Emefiele does not want to name drop because he has made, there are some negotiations and the rest. And talking from how I know as a lawyer, I know how matters goes. Don't forget that this matter can be in court for the next 10 years and it will be back and forth, maybe.
Okay,
trial, maybe over technicalities, motion was not properly served. Okay, go back to the.
Okay, so to you, does it look like corruption is fighting back?
I will. It will not be fair for me to say that because until the judgment is fully passed and we get a certified true copy of the listing, we cannot, as a bystander, say, okay, corruption is fighting back. or not. But my lord, they have their reasons of saying, okay, the matter should go back and start afresh and this thing.
Okay.
All right. Let's bring in Honorable Emefiele Iguatu into this conversation. Now, Honorable, the question is this. Why is it that a particular court, 1st of November, gave the verdict to say we're going out with this final forfeiture of some of these assets that belongs to, Godwin Emefiele? We're looking at, some properties here in Lagos. Even the one that he has at number 17B Hakeem Odomosho Street in Lekki, the ones at Queen's Drive, and also other properties, even the construction site in Abo. And then yesterday or thereabouts, we're getting a conflicting judgment from a court of appeal overturning the forfeiture of that particular, of those assets. And one of the things that is cited was the fact that there is a need for retrial, since Emefiele did not come up to say that he actually, got those properties with wealth that it was ill-gotten. They pointed out some things. It was a 3-man, bench trial. 2 were against, and 1 was, in support of the forfeiture. Help us walk around this place as a politician, because all fingers are falling back again, pointing to elected personnel as politicians, saying that it's more like this is more like a personal vendetta on Emefiele, the former governor of Central Bank.
Thank you very much. I do not think that the eminent juries are playing politics with the matter. What I feel strongly is that no matter how good your case is, there are processes, there are conditions that you must meet to win any matter in court. So I do not think the law treats morality. What the law treats is what is brought before the judges, the weight of evidence. And I know that the court respects processes. You must follow duly stated processes to get your matter convincingly set before the judges. So the Emefiele matter, they might have a good case against him, but investigations, do they have the correct facts enough to nail him? And then do they follow the very due processes that are involved in court, filing this, that, as the lawyers will say? If you don't do these processes like this, there is every reason for an appeal to be upheld against a higher court decision.
That was actually
CBN Governor Emefiele, former Governor Emefiele, played into the political arena. He descended into the political arena even as a CBN governor. It was said that he was contesting for presidency. And when you come down to that level, there is a place called Bida in Onitsha. It has a lot of pigs that are very dirty. Anytime you go into that place, you come out dirty too. So the CBN governor played into the hands of the politicians by trying to contest the election, even as a sitting CBN governor, and you can see what is coming out of it. There are people who did Nigerian Air. I don't know whether the EFCC is investigating them or charging them to court now. I'll check it out. There are people who under Buhari. There are so many things that happened that are not being investigated. So we need to be balancing these things.
All right, Ed. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Honorable Emefiele Iguatu. Prince Francis Chilaka. You've been giggling. What do you think? Now we'll try as much as we can not to be subjudice in all of this. Go ahead.
No, I'm just laughing because the last speaker has spoken just like a typical Nigerian politician, and he gave you an inference. He says there's a place where you have pigs that are very, very dirty. So, so when you step into it, so in other words, I'm happy he has accepted that the kind of politics we play in Nigeria is dirty, extremely dirty. And so when you're going into it, you must be prepared. So that, if you're wearing white and you go in, you definitely come out black, darker than anything you can think of. But you see, the truth of the matter is sometimes for us who are not lawyers, we don't understand the judicial system in Nigeria. We feel that there's a lot of, a lot going on judiciary that beats our imagination. Because the way I look at it as a layperson, I keep asking myself, we've had, since this government, this is 2 years of this administration, and in these 2 years, this government has been dragging only one man. And that man is the former CBN governor. Yet we have somebody, Hadi Serika, who scammed 200 million Nigerians with a phantom national heir. And nothing is being said about it. Nothing, absolutely nothing. On the other hand, we had the better Edu, who equally scammed the less privileged in this country. And everything is quiet. So these are things that when you look at it, you ask yourself, what is EFCC really doing? And that is why I also feel that the EFCC boss must be very careful the way he talks to us. Extremely careful. You come out the other day, you're telling us, you're focusing on Yahoo boys. But I'm happy he said something in that statement. He said the Yahoo boys have also turned into couriers for politicians. So why are they not going after these politicians? Why are we focusing on Yahoo boys? When you leave the substance, like they say, you don't cure cancer from the surface. You cure it from underneath. So why is it that you already know that there are politicians that are using these boys as conduit pipes? Why not go for them?
All right then. Big question. Why not go for them? That's a question that is begging for answers right now. I think Olukayede will be the one to give answers to that question. Well, let's bring Shokwito into this now. With all of this going on, do you think that there is a possibility that maybe some judicial slip or something, because Emefiele is contesting the forfeiture of the 753 housing, the 753 houses. Do you think there might be something in there that will work in his favor, that he might just reclaim that property?
It's a very good question you ask, Moses, and I think that this has been a problem for us as a society, as a country, as a people, right? We conduct media trials. We convict people on the pages of newspapers, and on timelines on Twitter and Facebook, without being patient to allow the law to take its full course. Now, I used to be a banker, and I stayed in banking to very senior levels. And I'll tell you something, that they told me, one of my bosses told us, not just me, in a training school program, that work hard, be diligent and all that. And that as you move up the ladder, there are certain cadres that you are going to cross into and your life will change, right? So he told us, when you are an officer, banking officer, senior banking officer, you are okay, you're doing well compared to your friends. The moment you move into the manager cadre, whether assistant manager, deputy manager, manager, senior manager, your life changes. It's significant. So we laughed about it. And then they told us, the moment you move from senior management and you get into executive management, your life changes again. Moses, I can tell you for a fact that the salaries that managing directors of banks in Nigeria collect are in hundreds of millions, right? Billions of naira per year. By the time you factor in bonuses, share schemes, share options, and all of that, these guys, any bank MD in Nigeria today is a billionaire, right? And I've made this point repeatedly, amongst my friends, and they accuse me, being somebody who speaks so passionately against corruption, against good governance. They accuse me of defending Emefiele, and I said, no, I'm not defending Emefiele. I feel Emefiele did a lot of things wrong in his time as, CBN governor. Some of my panelists here have said it. Descended into the political arena, contested for presidency, even as a sitting governor, and more importantly, he tried to mess with the candidacy of the current president, which I think maybe what is playing out now. This may just be payback time, as we saw with Dasuki and Buhari. However, to stay on my point, now, the issue is I am not defending Emefiele. I'm saying that as a bank MD and a former CBN governor, I am absolutely convinced that he is going to be able to prove the source of his wealth that enabled him acquire all of those
753 houses?
Look, just do the costing. Do the costing. I've done the costing. 753 housing units, including the cost of the land. It's about 50 million. The lower Keda is about 50 million each. If you do it, we're talking of maybe 150 billion naira. Maybe, 500 billion. I don't know. Some very large sounding billions. But this guy has been collecting billions of naira for over 15, 20 years. He was MD of Zenith Bank for 10 years, 9 years. He was MD of, CBN governor for another 9 years. That's almost 20 years collecting billions of naira. And then was he just collecting that money and keeping it under a pillow? Was he not investing it? Could that money not have grown? You know how money multiplies when it's plenty, right? The richer you become, the richer you can become because there is leverage, right? So I'm not defending him. I'm saying we should stop calling the guy a thief until he's proven to be so. He did a lot of things wrong. The multiple exchange rate policy under his tenure was one of the greatest travesties of economic management, and I know that there's a lot of corruption embedded in that.
So do you think that by Wednesday...
and defend himself for that?
All right. Now, the court have actually granted him bail of 2 billion naira and sureties of, 2 sureties of like terms, and also saying that they will have buildings in some areas where the court have jurisdiction. Do you think that he will be able to, walk around and get this done before Wednesday, or else he'll be remanded just the way the court said?
3 of his friends in the banking industry will stand for him. They have the money. Don't trust me. They have the money. If they don't come, then he's a bad guy. He doesn't have friends. So I'm just saying that the trial, it will be very, but you see, it's interesting and instructive that the appeal court has now reversed the forfeiture order. That should speak volumes. And in that, I read the report. They listed out his income, during his time. So it's not enough to just say, oh, this 753 billion, only one person. Is Dangote not one human being? He owns a 20 billion naira refinery. So the fact that he's one person doesn't make him a thief. I think what we need to be interested in is justice. The wrong that he did as CBN governor, let him face the full wrath of the law for those wrongs. If he is a thief, if he stole money, then for God's sake, let it be proven in court, and then let him have, let the law take his full course. I'm just saying that we should, everybody, including people that ordinarily would have been sympathetic towards this case, have now written him off as a thief. I believe. Now, let me ask you a question, and everybody else that is listening. If Emefiele stole all of that money from the CBN, and if he did all the things that he was accused of doing in the special investigators report, where are his accomplices? Why is he the only one standing trial? From the CBN I'm talking about, you see, because my dad worked in the CBN up until director level. I know how the place functions. There is no way you can steal money brazenly. You will have people that you worked with, and even then, the structures and processes within that organization are very strong. It's very difficult. For example, they said he forged the signature of the president. What? Are you kidding me? That's a joke. That's literally impossible. So I'm saying that we need to be careful, and let's just allow the law play out. If this guy did wrong, it will come out and he will go to jail. If he did not do wrong, he will prove his innocence, and we'll move on, and we'll know that this was just political vendetta. So let's wait and see.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Segun Shokwito, Chairman, Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network. I do believe, let's move on to another conversation now. The Conference of Professionals and PDP petitions EFCC over 39 billion naira ICC renovation contract under Wike'S. Let's x-ray this when we come back. Join us again.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
We are the station that brings you stories from the people's perspective.
We'll let your voice be heard. On Political Lens, we'll bring you deeper insights into happenings within the polity.
We create equality of representative opinion and fairness in politics, economic and diverse conversations.
Here we bring you breaking news, fresh perspectives, as well as fact-based analysis.
Watch our extraordinary shows from the People's Voice, where we get to amplify the stories and concerns of everyday Nigerians, to hashtag.
To Health Check, where we'll share practical wellness tips and bring you deep insights from medical professionals.
Maritime Frontiers will dissect issues on port operations and more.
Every time we talk about sport, it's everything that has to do with sport, from the top to the finish. Just be with us, stay with us all of the time. We give you sporting activities just as you unfold, and that's what we do, and that's why we are called Voice of the People TV, and you already know.
We got you all covered.
Here, you have more than a voice.
Policy Review Roundtable held by the group in Abuja, where members described the renovation as a calculated misuse of public funds. The group called on the EFCC to investigate the project, demanding full disclosure of the contract details, including tender invitations, bids, and due process certifications. They criticized the FCT minister for failing to address growing public concerns over the cost, which they noted is nearly 4 times the budget allocation for agriculture for over 3 million residents in the 2025 FCT budget. We have with us in the studio Prince Francis Chilaka, public affairs commentator. I call him Mr. White because, you know, he's all grey. And also Barrister Stanley Alieke, a legal practitioner who joins us virtually from Abuja. Well, Barrister, let me start off with Prince Francis, and then I'll come back to Barrister Alieke. Now, this, you know, what is going on? Yes, about, you know, the construction of the 39 billion. Wike has said, look, you are talking about the amount that was used and built
today. So it is shameful. For me, it is not something this government should have embarked upon. But then, who holds them accountable?
Big question. Who holds them accountable? Barrister, let me come to you now. Talking about accountability. The minister said this structure will be paid for when used going forward. That's right after renaming the structure. I know some Nigerians have been uncomfortable, I, included in those Nigerians that have been uncomfortable with the renaming of the structure after Tinubu. Do you think it's workable, a situation whereby usage of that facility will be paid for? That's the Abuja International Conference Center, even though we know it now to be Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center. Is it possible that we might be able to get some revenue from it when people rent it for events?
Well, good to see you again, Moses. Is just like some people are saying that the humongous amount that they claim that they spent on that project is unrealistic. It can be accounted for. But I also can tilt towards that direction, that it is a money laundering scheme. But for them realizing the money they spent on it. If you want to put in application to get this Abuja Conference Center and now Bola Tinubu Conference, International Conference Center, they will tell you that all the dates have been booked up to December. Now, this raises the question, the money that they've been realizing, what is it for free? So, and these things, renting this place costs as high as from 5 million upwards, depending on the event. And they will tell, let's say, like 5 days or a week is already taken up till December. They tell you that if you do plus and minus, and taking in consideration of the Nigeria corruption factor, of course, this is a money-making venture that could be making money for the government, if it should be well accounted for. But let's see how it goes.
Okay.
But I also have a problem with the money that they claim they have spending on the project, because there is no how commonsensically that you say that renovating that project cost over 30 billion naira. A project that when it was built, I think they say over 200 million naira.
Yes.
Yes, about 200 million naira when the military administration built it some 30 years ago or so. And he said renovating it, he shut it down and the rest. Now, this is what has been going on in Abuja. Although we that live in FCT have been giving kudos to the FCT minister of what he's been doing, we cannot deny that, for despite your political, despite the fact that he might be in different politics, but you cannot deny the fact that they have been doing well. But in Nigeria, if you play side by side between the devil and the deep blue sea, you always go with the lesser evil. Because the problem is people laundering money, stealing money without showing something to account for. This what we always want to be doing in front of my office last year. A road that is well in Metama, a road that is good, they'll bring tractors, scatter it, and start doing it again. We are wondering, we say, we know that this is a money embezzlement scheme.
Okay.
But the money is, okay.
All right. All right, Barrister, I'm just laughing here, the way you talk about money laundering scheme and all of that, and you look pretty sure, very pretty sure of what you are talking about. Anyway, away from that, I wouldn't want to dwell on the amount that was spent, because I think we can talk about it interminably, endlessly, without getting an answer. Up until this moment, Nigerians are asking, how come you spent 21 billion naira to renovate the vice president's house? And did we get any answer up until now? No, we've not gotten any answer. And we might never get until we have a government that is serious in tackling corruption. So I would like to stay with you. You are there in Abuja, the renaming of the ICC, from ICC to Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center, or whatever that they have called it. Now, I would like for you are in Abuja, what is the reaction of the people? If you walk the streets, in offices, in cafeteria, in bukas and all of that, what is the reaction of the people about this brazen, how can I call it now, brazen, infantry on the Nigerian people, especially as the man that built the edifice is still alive, and we have someone rename it after himself. And at last count, that makes it the 12th, institution that has been renamed after a sitting president. What's the reaction of the people in Abuja?
Well, nobody, including me, myself, although we shouldn't be dwelling on a minor, but nobody that I spoke with is comfortable with all these things that are going on. Some people even target that we are in a Milocon spray at everything that, the truth is, if you do good work, your legacy will speak for you. You don't have to maybe build a road, you name it, all these things is being geared up towards the 2027 election, which shouldn't be. It shows it shows desperation to a high extent that you built, you renovated, you not even build, you renovated the conference center and you named it after yourself. For how long will it continue?
Okay.
Let me see whatever.
All right. Yeah, when you say it's geared towards, everything is geared towards 2027, renaming of edifices and all of that, are you talking about the SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle for money making, or renaming the place? How would that affect the 2027 election? I'm not talking about the money aspect of it.
No, it's not the money aspect. They are beginning to, it's a game. They are beginning to maybe to etch the names of the name of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the minds of the people. Okay. You can always hear the FCT minister whenever during the commissioning saying, the last time he was saying, FCT people have been doing for you now. Where the problem will come is when in 2027, and I come for you, for you to give us vote, and you not vote for us. These are the things they are doing, just like at least, all these things are psychological game. If you are entering into, yes, you're entering into the Bola Ahmed Tinubu conference, at least the name is more like it's becoming resounding.
Okay, it looks to you as if the president has done so well and needs re-election and all of that.
Yes,
now, some Nigerians have also said, look, this is the way of dictators, you know, and that is the way they start by renaming edifices around after themselves. They cite the Mobutu Sese Seko, you know, of Zaire. They cite Paul Biya and all of these people. They say that is the way it starts. So does it look like we are heading in that direction, dictatorship that might even outstay itself in office and all of that? Do you think we are heading towards that direction?
Well, let's not jump the gun. It's quick to say, but because of the things that have been going on, I believe that the president who positions himself as a Democrat, which is a history with the 1993 of the nullification and the role he played in the protests and the rest. I don't want to believe that he wants to outlive, but we cannot take away the fact that he is a desperate politician. Right. Not just him, I think it's every Nigerian politician, most of them are desperate, that they don't mind going to any extra mile to make sure that their political ambition is being realized.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Barrister. Prince Francis, if this is looked at as money laundering, you know, we also know that, we also recognize the leeway that Wike was given taking FCT off the TSA. Is the president complicit in money laundering?
He who pays the piper dictates the tone. If your child goes amok and begins to steal, obviously people will say that the father was at a point in time a thief. So you can't rule that out. If what is playing out is money laundering, the president, if the president and the senators and honorable members who approve the budget are part of it, you cannot excuse them. Like we say, we talked about Emefiele earlier on, and we talked about who are those behind, or who are those within that circle. So also, if Wike, whatever he's doing, and nobody is questioning him, just like your Minister of Works is doing, nobody is questioning him, where does the buck stop? On the desk of the president.
So you think that's why he told him not to listen to naysayers?
I mean, you heard what the president said. When you have a president who claims to be a Democrat, who claims to afford the military to a standstill, he said when every other person was down, he was the only man standing. And in his administration, people are saying we are not seeing a pure Democrat. We are not seeing a man who talks about democracy. There's something is wrong. So you can't have a president that allows the ministers to be running amok, and then when people question, that same president will come and tell the ministers not to listen to the people, forgetting that when we talk about governance, when we talk about democracy, it is all about the people. So when you remove the people from the equation, you have nothing but dictatorship.
So you think now at this point in time, it's more like PDP is getting up, given the fact that the conference of professionals in People's Democratic Party are the ones bringing up this particular one, going or running to EFCC to say, call in Wike and ask him what happened. How come we spend 39 billion naira without proper bidding and without us or without Nigerians having a clear information on how this money is being spent? Are they waking up
nobody's taking PDP seriously right now.
But you're taking this particular one serious at this point in time.
Well, it didn't come out. It says professionals, not the politicians.
Conference of professionals.
Professionals.
Still on the PDP.
No, it doesn't matter. This shows you that there's a line. The politicians are not the ones talking. These are professionals. These are people who are more in tandem with the realities on the ground, unlike the political class. So yes, for me, usually it's not about the messenger. It's about the message. I always say, take the message and leave out the messenger. You may not like the face of the messenger, but it does not stop you from critically looking at the message the person is bringing to you.
All right, let me get your concluding thoughts as you also react to this one question before we move. You know, now that the FCT is off the Treasury Single Account, the TSA, how then are we going to monitor this particular spending, especially during the time of Nyesom Wike, who began this particular removal?
Well, you know that Wike and Mr. President seem to have a very good, cordial working relationship. And a lot of people have been asking, what is the hold Wike has on the president to get everything he wants done for him? So the import of what has happened is that Wike, as it is operating on his own. He's not. There's no room for accountability. There's no room for transparency. There's no room for reporting to anyone. Okay. And that is why Wike and the senator for FCT have been at loggerheads, because Wike is doing everything without having any regards for the senator. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that is an aberration.
So in 30 seconds, can you give us your concluding thoughts? All the topics.
Well, in 30 seconds, I think Mr. President going to Benue tomorrow, I would expect that President will go there and declare proper state of emergency.
All right, thank you.
So that we can get to nip this whole thing in the bud.
Thank you so much, Prince Francis Chilaka, for your submission. Barrister Stanley Aleke, let's get a concluding thought, in all the topics I've discussed thus far.
Well, as for the Emefiele, we're speaking as a lawyer now. What the law says that he's to be presumed innocent until the court of competent jurisdiction finds him guilty, despite the media trial and everything. So let's wait and see the outcome till when he gets to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, he's the final gavel. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We've been speaking with Prince Francis Chilaka, public and political affairs analyst, and Barrister Stanley Aleke, legal practitioner. Also, we're able to talk to Shegu Shopmito, who happens to be the president, or rather, yes, I am right. I'm the chairman of Accountability Council and Transparency Network. Also, we're able to talk to Honorable Geoffrey Guato, who is a former member of Anambra State House of Assembly. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of today's show. And due to want of time, here is how we'll end today's VOP this morning. On behalf of the backroom staff, my colleague in the studio, Moses Humphrey, Chukuma Okoro, I am Fina. Okay, Chuku, do well to join Moses and Chukuma for the newspaper review on top of the hour, 10 a.m. here on Voice of the People Television. Bye for now. Enjoy the